Hi guys, I'm doing the January the 28th, so it's John 20, 1 to 18. So I've been looking through, just reading. And it's just to start it. Obviously I won't read it all, but I wanted to read a little bit. Now the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb early while it was still dark and saw that the stone had been taken away from the tomb. Then she ran and came to Simon Peter and to the other disciples whom Jesus loved. And so it goes on. And then further down it says, then the disciples went away to their own homes, but Mary stood outside by the tomb weeping, and as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the tomb, and she saw two angels in white sitting, one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Jesus had lain. Then they said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" And she said to them, "Because they have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." Now when she'd said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, and did not know that it was Jesus. And Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking?" She, supposing him to be the gardener, said to him, "Sir, if you've carried him away, tell me where you've laid him, and I will take him away." And Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him, "Rabboni," which is to say, "Teacher." Jesus said to her, "Do not cling to me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Lord and that he had spoken these things to her. So I just wanted to read a bit of that, but just been pondering a little bit. I think the thing that really stands out to me is how Jesus is with Mary. How he saved her from so much in her life and restored her and gave her a sound mind and heart, and that he knew her intimately, and I just think, I think what strikes me is she didn't recognize him when she saw him physically. She didn't recognize him, but when it's just an amazing passage anyway. But she was weeping and she saw the angels. That must have been amazing. Sorry, I'm saying a lot. But when Jesus said her name, he said her name, Mary, and then instantly she recognized in her spirit it was him, and her eyes were opened, and that revelation of life, of who he was, came to her. And I just find that quite amazing. And I think amazing that he does that with us as well. as individuals, that he knows our names, and he knows how we tick, and who he's created us, to be. He's made us who we are, and he calls us with authority, but he calls us with tenderness and with grace and with patience. And his voice, his word brings life. Yeah. So I think that's what kind of came out to me, really. And for those, it's his word, it's his life, his revelation that brings change and brings hope, and by his Spirit working in us and through us. And to those we pray for, those we hold in our hearts, in our community and in our families, and when he speaks to them, he brings life, he will bring life. And yeah. And how as Christians and how as his people, as his child, to learn to listen to his voice, and to be still enough to listen to his voice. And I know that I'm not still enough to, I should be still more, put it that way. And learn to be quiet, and there's a time to be noisy too, yeah, and life is busy, but his voice, his word, brings life, and that's the only real life, isn't it? Yeah, so I think it's quite amazing, because God knows us so intimately, and he knows how we tick, and he knew who Mary was, and he turned her life around and her testimony, and she became a woman after God's own heart. And I think that's probably where I'll leave it. But yeah, that doesn't mean that life's all easy and everything, but it's part of our walk, coming to know, hearing God's voice, and day by day and step by step, a path unfolds. As a church and as individuals and as his body and as witnesses in the world, and where he wants us to be, what work he gives us, or the children he gives us, the people in the community, or whatever situation, really. So we be encouraged that he knows our hearts, and that his voice, his truth, his word brings life. So just last thing. So it's from a reading. So just bear with me for this last bit. I'll just I'll just read it. Sit still, my children. Just sit calmly still. Nor deem these days, these waiting days, as ill. The one who loves you best, who plans your way, has not forgotten your great need today. And if he waits, it's sure he waits to prove to you, his tender child, his heart's deep love. Sit still, my children, just sit calmly still. You greatly long to know your Lord's your dear Lord's will. while anxious thoughts would almost steal their way, corrodingly within because of his delay. Persuade yourself in simple faith to rest, that he who knows and loves will do the best. Sit still, my children, just sit calmly still, nor move one step, not even one, until his way has opened. Then, then, how sweet, how glad your heart, and then how swift your feet, your inner being then, then, how strong. And waiting days not counted then too long. And this last verse particularly, it speaks to me anyway. Sit still, my daughter, just sit calmly still. What higher service could you for him fill? It's hard, yes, but choicest things must cost. For lack of losing all, how much is lost? It's hard, it's true, but then he gives you grace to count the hardest spot, the sweetest place. So, thank you guys for listening, and if you've tuned off already, I understand. Probably a bit long-winded, but thank you. And sorry if none of it makes sense, but bless you guys. Bye.